Carnival Horizon. Is it one of the best ships in the Carnival fleet? Or is it super hyped up? After spending 6 days on this cruise, here's what surprised us. And who's this cruise actually for? Let's check it out. DJ, spin the intro.
Dancing where the waves keep time for you and me. Turn the midnight sky into a melody. Heaven in your eyes. Starshine on the sea. Spinning on this deck so wild and free. If this is a dream, don't you dare wake me. Stay right here with me. Starshine on the sea. Round and around, ship and shore. Every night I want more. Make this tide our port. Let tomorrow wait.
Well, hello cruise fans, especially you new cruise fans curious about where to start your cruise obsession. My name is Brian from Anchors and Ever After Vacations. Welcome to our overview and experience we spent on the Carnival Horizon. My wife Yanni and I have been waiting to sail on the Horizon for the longest time. We heard so much hype about it and decent reviews on cruise groups actually and social media, and it was time to see if everything they said about it was true. Disclaimer, we booked this trip ourselves with our own money. It was years of a delayed honeymoon that we never actually had when we got married, and we never got to do it. Life happens, you know, that's just the way reality is. So our experiences were our own. So that's our disclaimer on this. All right, so some info about our sailing. This was a 6-day cruise out of the port of Miami with 3 port stops in Ocho, Rios, Jamaica, Grand Cayman, and a short run over to Cozumel, Mexico. We thought originally Ocho Rios would have been canceled after Hurricane Melissa devastated the island weeks earlier, but thankfully the port was able to open up and take ships. Definitely resilience on the people of Jamaica, ready to open up again so quick. Not to mention a shout out to Carnival and the crew of the Horizon who were shuttling supplies back and forth to the island, even when they weren't ready to accept passengers. All right, guys, so a little bit about the Carnival Horizon before we get started on the overview. So the Carnival Horizon is one of the Vista class ships, for those of you that don't know that. So it's a certain class of ships that Carnival has, you know, out of the XL and all the other ones too, even the Carnival Italian style, which used to be all Costa ships. So this is the sister ship to the Vista, the Panorama, and the Carnival. So this is more the Italian versions, like I said, the Firenze and Venezia. The Vista class is just before Carnival's new Excel ships came out. This ship launched in 2018. So for a cruise ship, she's still pretty young, you know, especially when you see some of Carnival and even Royal ships, you know, they've been on the line for 20 years, especially some of those like the Radiance class and everything. So it still has a lot to offer. And this ship holds about 4,000 people. So it's not a crazy mega ship like you see on, you know, some of the Oasis and even now Icon class. And as you can see coming up, you know, Carnival's got some other ships coming up now that are supposed to be huge. So this ship is definitely in the middle divide between the large XL ships and the classic old school smaller Carnival ships. So I think this might be an appeal for somebody that doesn't want to do a mega ship. So it definitely has a good option for you. Now, as far as the architecture on this one has some pretty good charm. Has a little bit of, I'd like to say, some of the modern XL ship amenities and looks, and also some of the old school charm that some of the old Carnival ships have. So if you've been on both, you know, it's kind of that good middle ground for you. And that's something that I think I enjoyed about this ship. So this one mainly ships out of Miami, but recently it was announced that it'll be doing some sailings out of Galveston as well. So there'll be an option there temporarily until it comes back to Miami. And this ship mainly does a lot of 6 to 8 day cruises all over the Caribbean and Mexico, and just had its refurb in 2022. So not too shabby for a ship. All right, so let's talk about Embarkation. So this cruise, like I said before, just cruises out of Miami, but with the exception of Galveston, where it's going there soon. It's one of the busiest ports in the United States. And I'm going to emphasize this. I cannot, you know, even to my customers, I suggest, you know, you guys need to come in the day before. You know, things can happen, you know, delays, snowmageddon, as we've seen here recently in the last couple weeks, if not last month, you know, where the snow has just killed travel and everything. So come in the day before. That way it gives you some room if anything happens. But, you know, you do you. I'm a travel advisor, and I try to give you the best options and ideas to make your travel seamless. So one big thing about Miami, it's very busy and traffic is terrible. So if you take any advice from this video, come in the day before for your cruise. Now, we stayed here in the Brickell area. We came down from Orlando. We took the Bright Line. So we stayed in downtown Miami in the Brickell area. We used, for this trip, we used the True by Hilton. We were trying this hotel out and checking it out. And we have a video about this coming out as well. So you can check that out as an option if you want to book that as well. We're making a Miami series to kind of give you an idea of hotels and experiences in the Miami area that you can do the day before your cruise or even after your cruise, especially for those of you that might have flights later in the afternoon. But going in the day before allowed us to go out to Bayside, enjoy some music and nightlife, and we went to South Beach to check out the vibes on, especially the beautiful weather that we had for this trip. This time around, we didn't hire a car service to take us to the port, so we decided to get an Uber this time. Getting a ride from the hotel was no problem, so we got an Uber right away. We left the hotel about an hour before our check-in appointment time. So if you've been to Miami, we probably should have left a little bit earlier. We actually got stuck in the tunnel trying to get to the port. It was about a little over an hour. There was an accident, and on top of that, you got all the construction that's going on the port. So it took us a little bit longer to get there. So keep that in mind when planning accordingly, especially with Miami. The going joke is, it takes an hour to go from Miami to Miami. And once we finally made it into the port with the delays, surprisingly, even with the delay, we made it just a little after our appointment time. So we dropped off our bags at the porter and give them a 10, so that way they take care of your bags. So I always tip our porters. That's up to you. You want to make sure they give you good service and everything. So take care of the people that take care of you. So we made it to the check-in area, and security were pretty easy. We made it in there pretty quick. This time we bought Faster to the Fun to kind of give us the priority boarding. So it worked out pretty good. We got in, and I'd say it probably took maybe about 15 minutes. There was no wait to get on the ship, so we were on the ship pretty much right away. We got on, and the first thing we did before anything was to find our muster station and get that knocked out. That way you can be free to explore the ship. I mean, if you ever take a cruise, this is what I suggest you do. Obviously, every cruise line is different on how they do it. But if you can knock this out, that way you don't have to worry about it later, and then they're paging you to get it done. So just get it done, guys. It's easy. That way you especially know where you have to go in an emergency. So things happen in life, so do it. So then after that, the first thing we did is Guy's Burger. That's always our go-to place. It's just a place to go for lunch. It's probably one of my favorite meals on Carnival, especially. If you know, you know. So our first impression was a pretty modern looking ship for its young age, believe it or not. Even for a 2018. None of that weird, godly Carnival decor that some of the old ships have. If you've been on them, you know what I'm talking about. It looks like a smaller version of the Excel ships with a feel of the old school Carnival deck plans. I personally thought she was pretty well kept and loved the unique LED spire that it has in the middle of the atrium, that plays different themes on it. And, you'll see on some later videos or our walkthrough, they have, they'll play some of the Dr. Seuss theme stuff in there. So I think it's pretty cool. A very unique piece that these Vista ships have, for sure. All right, so for room overview, rooms when we were on the ship were finally available about 1:30 p.m. So pretty much everything was ready on time for this ship, which was great. We booked an aft extended balcony Havana room on deck 8, especially because we went without our kids. So it gave us that option to be able to book a Havana room, which was nice. Those are very nice amenities. If you ever get to do it, it's definitely worth it. It was a little bit extra. We did upgrade for this option, so it was great. Overall, the room itself is just a standard Carnival balcony room. It just has a different headboard and decor with the Cuban theme for the Havana. Nothing outstanding on the inside. So make sure you check out our room walkthrough for this room so you can get an idea of what it looks like. The best part was the killer views of the back of the ship and the wake. You can sit out there for hours and never get bored. That was probably one of my most enjoyed perks about our room for sure. The room was very clean. Our stateroom attendant did a good job on keeping the daily upkeep in the room. Even with the semi-new Carnival styling. Unfortunately, the room's shower still had the old shower curtains. If you've been on these old ships with the curtains, you know how it is when you're taking a shower and the shower curtain just starts hugging you and everything. So it's really hard to take a shower sometimes. Definitely wish they would have upgraded to the glass showers like they do on the XL ships now. And, you know, of course, Royal's been doing that for years as well. But it's just a minor thing. The Zonk I'd say right now is the plugs. You know, this was just refurbished in 2022, so you'd think they would have added some more plugs. So the main plugs are pretty much on the desk. Luckily, we didn't have a lot of electronics to charge this time around. I mean, since it was only us especially, you know how it is with kids and their tablets, you know, when you have to charge those too. So it's very limited in that regard. So for Carnival, you can still bring a non-surge protected power strip. So if you have a lot of stuff to charge, make sure you bring that with you because you're very limited on plugs on this just now. But other than that, it's overall a nice average room. It has a killer balcony, and for couples with the Havana area, this is a great option. I mean, you just can't do without it, you know, especially if you're coming for your honeymoon or you're doing an anniversary trip. I mean, it's very nice to have the Havana pool area. I mean, nothing like go to the main pool and there's 30 kids in the hot tub, you know, just splashing around and making a mess of that for you. But, you know, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so let's talk about food. So Carnival is known for a lot of its included food and perks with that than most of the other cruise lines. You know, especially they might charge more for a lot of these things that are standard on Carnival. We tried many different places on this cruise just to make sure we didn't miss anything. Guy's Burgers, of course, an all-included amenity that was always on point. We ate there multiple times for lunch, and you know the lines were pretty quick on it too to try to get your burger. They had 2 lines going for it, so it moved pretty quick. So very awesome setup here on this ship. Our first night, we also took the Carnival offer to eat, especially dining on the first night. We went to Fahrenheit 555. I have to count it slow because it's too many fives. For dinner, and it was excellent. I mean, it's probably one of my favorite steakhouses with Carnival. Definitely even better than the Mardi Gras, just to compare. We ordered fillets, we both did, and they were cooked to perfection. We went with the chocolate melting sphere, and my wife, she ordered the ice cream and the apple tart, I think that's what it's called. And they were both really good. And we both got the offer that this booking it on Embarkation Day, you know, you get either a free bottle of wine or 50% off another another wine. So my wife has a favorite wine that she likes to order here on Carnival, so we took the 50%. So it was a nice little deal. But for the price that we paid for this restaurant, I mean, it was definitely worth the price. I mean, compared to anything else you'll pay for on land, I mean, definitely a lot of value. You get, you know, a full course meal. So we definitely enjoyed Fahrenheit 555. Definitely worth it if you're coming out here, especially for a nice night with couples. You know, it's a great place to go eat. You know, even my kids enjoy going there to eat. They're steak lovers as well. So now as far as the buffet, we ate there multiple times. That's always a hot point when it comes to cruise ships. It was actually really good. For dinner, they might have a variation of what they're serving in the main dining room for dinner. So you might see some of that on the menu there on the buffet. We didn't do breakfast at the buffet. We just prefer to have breakfast at the main dining room. It's just nice to have a sitting moment, especially in the morning when you're trying to drink your coffee. It's just less chaotic in the mornings to go to the main dining room. But overall, a lot of variety, foods, desserts, they were all pretty good. I was very impressed. So the buffet here on the Horizon was definitely above average for us, I'd say. We had one night at Cucina del Capitano, which is not an included perk on this ship. You know, on the Mardi Gras or any of the XL ships, you have like a free night for dinner there, one free night, which you can pay $8 for an additional night dinner over there. But here on this ship, it's $24 per person, so it is not an including perk. However, for lunch, they do have a pasta bar that you can have for free. So if that's something you want to taste Cucina del Capitano on the ship, you can go there for lunch for the free pasta buffet. So keep that in mind. Overall, the service here in the restaurant was excellent. I mean, we got all the attention in the world that you could get. It wasn't full. We ordered the chicken parmesan, which is one of our favorite at Cucina. But this time around, it was pretty salty. I don't know what it was, if it was the chicken seasoning that they used, too much salt on, or if it was the cheese itself. But we let the staff know about it, and they were very attentive. They said if we wanted another one or something else, they could cook something up for us. But, we opted out of that. But the pasta itself was really good here. Now, $24 per person, I think, is a bit high, especially when you have something to compare to now with the Excel ships. So I don't know. I think $24 for what they offer for it, I think is too much money. If they offered like $8 or maybe $10 for dinner for it, I think I'd be more willing to say, it's definitely worth the price. But for what it is, I think it's too much for what it is. I don't know. It's hard to change your mind when you've already been offered a pretty good deal somewhere else. So keep that in mind. Now, Pizza del Capitano, of course, that's a quick service option. It is included in your cruise fare. They offer 4 standard pizzas for lunch till midnight, but you can order something special for a small fee. Personally, the 4 cheese pizza for me is, always on point. It's just my favorite thing. I don't even think Royal Caribbean's Sorrento's is as good, but that's just my taste buds. You might think differently, or even I've heard now that MSC's pizza is probably some of the top out in the cruise line industry. If you've tasted all 3 of them, let me know. We're checking out MSC here in the summertime, so definitely stay tuned for those videos later on down the road. But definitely for me, I love the pizza. It's, for me, even after a show, it's a nice little snack to have. So, especially that midnight snack. And in the morning, they'll have bagels for breakfast. So that's a new offering that Carnival has. So keep that in mind. If you don't want to eat like a full breakfast, they do have bagel sandwiches and just different options in the morning for that as well. But nothing like a midnight pizza snack. And definitely Pizza del Capitano is always been on point for me. So we also went to the main dining room. We ate there for breakfast and dinner multiple times. We did my time dining, as I don't like to be held up for a certain time, to go to dinner, because we might have different plans every night, or want to go shopping or see a show first before we go eat. So we always do my time dining. I think it's a good option. Typically, when I leave the room, I get ourselves in the queue, and by the time we get down to the main dining room, the table is usually ready. Now, the exceptions for that might be, formal night, where everybody's out there trying to dine for a formal night. So that's when it might take a little bit longer, but it is what it is, and just expect that. So, and I think that's pretty normal on any ship. If you disagree with me, let me know. But other than that, dinner for the most part on this ship was all right. I would say average. I'd say probably because I always chose the wrong thing. I would order steak most of the time, and it was average. It was never anywhere to the Fahrenheit level as far as the steak is concerned. But my wife always ordered something good. I think she ordered it's like a pork ribs or something like that, and it was actually excellent. And I definitely regretted not ordering it, but she was always very lucky with that. The sides were good, salads were good. The service, I'd say, was pretty good overall. Very entertaining servers. They would love to talk and make a good time for you. I definitely enjoyed it very much. For breakfast, you have your usual options. You have your when they're serving breakfast in port days, they have your Port Day Express, and you also have your sea day brunches, which are pretty good. So you'll have your kind of mix of breakfast and lunch in there as well. But overall, I'd say breakfast for me was probably the better option in the main dining room, but it was still pretty good. I don't know. You might have a different opinion of it. Your experience might be different, but it was pretty good for us, I think. This time around, we didn't do Bonsai Teppanyaki, Gigi's, which is the Asian kitchen, or Guy's Pig and Anchor, which is your barbecue place. Just didn't have time to do it. And, of course, those are for pay. Gigi's, you can get that for lunch for free. They do have like a little stir-fry bar on lunchtime. Bonsai is for pay. And Pig and Anchor on sea days, they have the little barbecue buffet as well for free. But for dinner, it is kind of a la carte. So just didn't get around to it. Overall, I'd say the food on the ship was pretty good. I think even with a family for picky kids, like I do, I can't get some of my kids out of the chicken nugget era. So I think, they would do pretty good here. So there's something for everybody. So now for those of you that have allergies, I get this asked a lot, especially when I have my customers asking me about it when I'm booking their cruises. What about allergies? So for quick service restaurants, you have to make sure that when you're ordering your food, you tell them you have allergies, and they should have different options for you for whatever you're looking at, whether it's Guy's Burgers, pizza, or anything like that. They'll find alternatives for you. When it comes to sit-in dining, the waiters will typically walk over and ask about any allergies, and they'll look for different options, or they'll cook something different for you that will be without the allergens that'll give you a reaction. So they were always very on top of that. My wife has a nut and shellfish allergy, so they were always on top of that to help us out and talk about different options for them. So, and even on any other cruise ship, I've never had an issue. You tell them you have allergies, and they do their best to serve you alternatives and take care of you. You know, it's a huge liability for them for you to get sick or, you know, injured on their ship. So they're very on top of that. So if you're cruising with allergies or have issues with anything like that, keep that in mind that, you know, you'll be just fine. And I think my wife, even with her allergies, had a great experience and never had any issues here. So yeah, very allergy friendly. All right, so let's talk about entertainment on the Carnival Horizon. So entertainment on the ship was fun. Tyler Meehan was our cruise director, and he was awesome. He was probably one of my favorite cruise directors right now on Carnival itself. I mean, I think very humble and very out there to make a fun time for everybody. I definitely like that any event that he has or anything, he's always out there remembering all the crew members around him that are working hard to try and give you the best experience. So that for me was very enjoyable with Tyler in that regard. We enjoyed his hosting. The Fun Squad was always there to make events enjoyable. And in the end, there's no sail away like a Carnival sail away party. I mean, that to me is always memorable. I don't think, you know, the dancing or the vibe will ever be any better than Carnival. I mean, I've been on other cruise lines and it's just not the same. I mean, just the party environment, the dancing, the music. I think Carnival's top dog for that. So definitely, you know, top grades for Carnival as far as their sail away parties. I mean, they do a great time for that. You know, even this time around, you know, Carnival has their Dr. Seuss theme. I mean, they add the Dr. Seuss characters to the sail away party as well. So if you have kids out there in the sail away, you know, they have, like I said, a little bit for everybody. So if you like to dance and like the music, you know, for me, Carnival is the top when it comes to their sail away. But then we watched all the shows. We watched every single show that there was out there. Even without all the fancy electronics, you know, that some of the Excel ships have. You know, this one doesn't have all that fancy stuff. But the shows were great. Good singers, dancers, you know, shout out to Carnival's entertainment team. I mean, they did a lot with a lot less. You know, the new ships have all this tech and everything like that. And, you know, they made a great show with all the props and everything they had for their shows. So definitely, we had a great time with that. I think we enjoyed it very much. The Love and Marriage show was awesome. It was so funny. Tyler, our cruise director, was there to host it. And I mean, it was such a great time. Even after a drunk lady getting kicked out in the middle of the show. So, I mean, kudos to that. I have a video somewhere around that. But yeah, behave yourself, man. You'll end up called out by all the audience if you're out there making a fool of yourself. So keep that in mind. We also did play bingo. You know, never won any money. You know, seems to be the theme. But we were very close. Alex from the Fun Squad, so huge shout out to him. He was very funny during any of the games. We played Deal or No Deal, which now has an electronic feature on your phone, so you can kind of play along as they're playing with the host and everything on the show. So pretty cool thing. Didn't win any money on that either, so you know, I'm not any richer for that. But yeah, it was a good time with any of their gambling things like Deal or No Deal and bingo. Deck parties, like the 80s glow party, were good, just as they always have on Carnival. We've always had a great time. You know, we even came with you know, a little bit of glow up with it too, just for the theme. The only tough one I'd say is probably the white party. And it's just because of this ship. They did it on the atrium. So the atrium on this ship is a little smaller than, you know, even some of the older Carnival ships. The Excel ships, you know, they have, you know, it's not really an atrium anymore. You know, they have their 3-story stage out there in the middle of the ship now. But it's kind of tight in there. So when it's crowded for like the white party, you know, it's hard to find a spot to maybe see the show. But, you know, we were still rocking it out to Whitney Houston out there for the white party. So it was still a great time. You know, you just have to make the best of everything, guys. I mean, that's just me. The ship has plenty of pools, which, you know, for us, like I said, we booked the Havana area for this. So we had our own almost private area as far as pools is concerned. So I definitely recommend it. If you're not coming with the kids, I definitely recommend booking the Havana area. The Vista class ships have the best Havana amenity, I think. I think the Excel ships, when they designed it, they kind of dropped the ball on it. I mean, it's just a very small area on them. But here on the Vista ships, I mean, you've got the pool and you've got the 2 hot tubs and just a lot of space overall. I think it was very well designed for these ships. And I wish, maybe on the Excel ships or maybe the new ships coming out, they kind of redesign it a little bit better and maybe follow course with the Vista ships. But I think it was definitely worth it. As I mentioned earlier, there's nothing like being in a hot tub and then there's 30 kids jumping all over the place in front of you. And, you're just trying to enjoy your drink. So it's hard to do that sometimes, especially, during crowded seasons in the summer or wintertime, for Christmas and all that. But I think this is a good way to kind of have a private area and enjoy the pool. This ship also has a nice sports zone. They've got a ropes course and they've got the Skyrider here, which is like a hanging roller coaster that you pedal your way around the ship. That's pretty enjoyable, and that's included too. There's no additional cost for that. So that's one zonk on the Excel ships. I mean, they have the boat roller coaster, which costs $15 a person, for 2 laps around the ship. I think it's a little expensive for what it is, but the nice thing about it, you don't have that here. You have the Skyrider, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, where else do you get to hang out on the side of the ship and pedal all around the ship? I think that's pretty cool. Now, there is a weight limit to that, so it's 250 pounds. So if you're a little bit more than that, it's probably not going to be something you can do. But, those are free perks that you have on the ship. So that's pretty cool on that. You've also got a pretty decent Dr. Seuss themed water park. My kid's soul in adult form. I did all the slides and tried them all out. I'm pretty sure if my kids were on this cruise, I'd have to drag them out of there, because it's really hard to get them out of there when it's time to go. You have to really emphasize when it's time to go, kids. But yeah, I think for your family, I mean, you would have a great time here, even for the little ones. But just keep in mind, Carnival does not have splash areas for babies and kids that are in diapers. So that'll be a little thing to think about when it comes to booking with Carnival. Royal does have that perk, so keep that in mind. But let's see, on the casino side, I think they have a great variety of machines and table games for the size of the ship. My wife definitely killed it there. She's like my Rain Man in Vegas, when it comes to slot machines. She did really good with that. I put money in and win some and lose some. If I'm lucky, I break even. But either way, I still have a great time. Bring cash from home, because the ATM here, the fees will kill you. So, if you go to your credit union and get some money without a fee and just have it in your wallet or in the safe, I would definitely recommend that, especially if you need it for port days and stuff like that. But we were definitely never bored on this ship, and I think you won't either. It's got a little bit of everything for everyone. Everything from kids to adults, the kids clubs. I mean, you name it, it has it for you. All right, so let's talk about ports. I don't always do excursions. We kind of like to explore places and play it by ear. But I do suggest that if you do one, you book it through the cruise line. Especially if it runs late, you won't be left behind. When you do third-party stuff, it might be a little bit risky, especially if they're running late. Traffic happens, life happens. You just don't want to be one of those guys, being a cruise runner in the pier and, then you're getting booed by everybody on the ship. But, you just don't want to miss your ship. So keep that in mind. So we had 3 port stops. Our first stop was Ocho Rios, Jamaica, which just had recently opened after the hurricane. We didn't book an excursion here. We decided to walk through the port and the shopping mall that it has there. And we hung out at the beach that Margaritaville has. It was safe to walk around. We had no problems. For Margaritaville, all you need to do is buy something, some food, a drink, and you can enjoy the beach there included. You can pay for an umbrella and chairs for a little bit extra. I think it was $40 or something like that. I don't know off the top of my head. If you've been there recently, definitely let me know in the comments. We had a great time. The port looked like nothing had happened with the hurricane. I mean, it was pretty amazing. So if it got wrecked up, I mean, they did a good job cleaning it up. But I don't think Ocho Rios got hit pretty bad with the hurricane. So they got really lucky there. But we were going to book a resort for the day, but it was just too expensive for what it was. I mean, just for a couple hours, I think it was looking for $150 a person. I mean, it just wasn't worth it for a couple hours. I mean, for that, I could have probably booked 3 nights at a resort somewhere all inclusive. So yeah, there's different options to do it. You got the Dunn's River Falls excursions as well, if you want to look into that. But yeah, we had a great time at Ocho Rios. I was really surprised. Grand Cayman was our second stop. For those of you that don't know, Grand Cayman is a tender port, so there's no dock. Well, for cruise ships anyway. So you got to board a tender boat, and it'll take you to the port. We had faster to the fun, so we could have priority boarding for it because we knew we were going to have a tender port. So sometimes that can be a little chaotic. So it kind of helped out a little bit with that, and it worked out good. We did the cheap and easy thing there. We jumped on the bus, which is really a van to 7 Mile Beach, and it was only $2.50 per person, so very affordable. You know, you don't have to do the cabs or anything like that. Save your money. You know, bring some cash, and you can book the bus and take you to 7 Mile Beach. So we had a great time there. It's about a 10-minute ride from down to the port. We rented 2 chairs and umbrella for $20. Beautiful beach, water. Definitely one of my favorites in the Caribbean. We spent a couple hours there, ate some jerk chicken, which was really good, and we headed back on the bus to the port. A lot of shopping areas in and out of the port, so if you're looking for souvenirs, you have a lot of options. Definitely one of my favorite ports to come to. Come to the ship nice and early because it's a tender stop. So like I said, there's times when the lines can get really long to get back on the ship, especially when there's multiple ships out there. So keep that in mind. You know, definitely I recommend probably getting back to the ship at least 2 hours prior, just to give you some buffer time. You know, you never know when things happen like traffic and things like that. So that's always my recommendation. You do you. So our last stop was Cozumel, which we've been to many times. When we were there with the kiddos, typically we'll book a beach resort like Mr. Sancho's. They love going there. But for us, it was just us, so we decided to walk around town instead. Good luck doing a walk around town with the kids. You know, nothing like, oh, my feet hurt, I'm hungry, I'm bored. So it's a nice breath of fresh air to be able to do something, you know, outside of what the kids want to do. Today's port in Cozumel was a little bit later than usual. So, I mean, it just didn't make sense to go to a resort anyway. We got a taxi. I think it was $10 one way. I have a video about that. And we went to Parque Benito Juarez. We walked around, we shopped, ate some food. So, you know, pretty much overall, and I think it's safe. You know, you're in a tourist area. I know a lot of people are concerned about that. But definitely check out our video on the Cozumel port and, you know, the different options you have there. So just a little overview of it. You know, I'll put the little link up in the top up here. All right, so just like any good trip, you know, they start and unfortunately they come to an end. So let's talk about disembarkation. So disembarkation for us was pretty simple. There was no madness. It was actually well organized, believe it or not. We left from one terminal when we got on the ship and then returned to another one. So if you parked and drove in, you know, keep that in mind that parking, you might have to take a shuttle to take you back to the parking lot. So that's something to think about. We got up, we left the room, went to have a nice relaxing breakfast in the main dining room and, you know, took our time. I mean, we had no rush. Once we left, most of the big crowds that were rushing to catch early flights were gone. So we walked right off, even with faster the fun. Customs and getting our bags were easy and fast. And I do recommend if you can get your passport, the line will be a lot quicker, especially for adults. You know, your passports are good for 10 years. So, I mean, what you pay for it, I mean, you're kind of investing in it. Just make the investment. We definitely recommend it. Imagine, I don't know, I just find cruising with your passport so much easier. Imagine how many cruises we can book for you easily if you have your passport. It just makes life so much easy, especially if you want to do another kind of vacation at some point. We got an Uber right away, and we were able to catch a 10 a.m. Brightline train back to Orlando. Now, every experience will be different, and obviously traffic will change on a daily basis when it comes to Miami. But if you're flying out, I definitely recommend a flight after 12 p.m. The port can be a mess, especially if every ship and their mom is there. If you can arrange private transportation, which we can do that for you. But in the end, Port Canaveral, I'd say even with the distance from the airport, is such a better place to go cruise out of. But, you know, Port of Miami's just got its things, but sometimes you have the better deals and options out of the Port of Miami. All right, so the big ticket item that everyone always is concerned about is how much did this cruise cost? Like I said, we paid this out of our own money. So I bought this about a year ago prior to the cruise, and it was originally $1,400 for the two of us, and that was in a standard balcony. However, I decided since it was just the two of us to upgrade it up to a Havana room, and that ended up costing in the end $2,400 with taxes, port fees, and everything there. Now, that does not include gratuities or anything like that, or any additions that we did to the reservation. So is it worth it, the extra $1,000 for the Havana experience? I mean, that's entirely up to you and your budget. But to me, I think it was pretty good having a nice kidless experience for once. All right, so let's have an overview. So to summarize this overview, I don't do reviews. And the only reason why is because my experience might be different from yours. Why grade something that might be viewed differently by you or your mother-in-law, etc.? I mean, you name it. Might as well just tell you how it went, and you can determine if it's something you would enjoy. I like to always look at things from a glass half full perspective. Being in the airline industry for over 20 years, you just have to always have a positive outlook and, adapt to things. Things change in a whim. So overall, the Carnival Horizon, I think, is one of my favorite Carnival ships now, or I'd say it's probably tied with the Mardi Gras. She has that middle ground from classic Carnival to modern Excel ship giant, with most of the amenities that anyone could want or need packed into a smaller ship. So, you don't have 6,000 plus people on the ship. So for those of you that don't like the mega ships, this is a nice option. Now, some of the specialties not included versus the Excel ships, but they have free lunch options. Some smaller public spaces, but we never had an issue finding a place to sit. And if you're sailing from the port of Miami, come early. You cannot predict the Miami madness. If your appointment's at 10:30 a.m., I'd probably leave your hotel at 9 a.m. Even if you have to wait outside, but you just don't know. Same thing for debarkation, plan accordingly. Bring cash for the ports and casino. The cruise ATMs, they're very expensive with the fees. So keep that in mind. Ask me how I know, because I ran out of cash and, had to pay the nice exorbitant fee. But, you got to do what you got to do when you're on vacation. So who is this cruise for? That's the question for everybody. You might get different opinions on Carnival, but, I enjoy Carnival and I've always have. Now, who is the Carnival Horizon for specifically? I say everyone, especially if you like to have fun and relax on the same trip. For families, I think it's a good value and you can save some money in comparison to Royal Caribbean for the same itinerary. Great kids clubs and the staff is super friendly. For couples, this is a great ship too. A lot to do, and I definitely recommend the Havana experience, especially if you're coming in without the kids or a solo couple, and I think it's a great experience. It'll give you that kidless experience and be able to enjoy the pools in your own area without 30 kids jumping in and out of the pool and, splashing you while you're enjoying your, $20 drink. So it's, it does have something for everybody. I think for a great vacation, the Horizon has great value and something for everybody. We did not really have any negative experiences or Walmart of the Sea vibes, as everyone likes to call it. Usually you'll see crazier vibes on short sailings. Those 3 to 4 day booze cruises, those guests, they have to get their booze money's worth in 3 days and just lose it. This just isn't that experience. This is a well-rounded ship. It's not a mega ship or old small ship. So I definitely see why she's so popular, and that's why we booked it. And we booked it again for next year, and this time around we're taking the kids with us, so they get to have the same experience that we did. So definitely stay tuned for that video when that comes up next year. But if you want a more low-key vibe, then I would definitely recommend, Royal Caribbean or low-key kidless, maybe Virgin. But I think this ship has something for everyone, and in the end, it's a fun ship after all. And I definitely think if you book this, you'll definitely have a great time. It is what you make of it. I definitely enjoyed it, and we'll be back, and we're checking out the Vista ship as well, her sister ship. But folks, that's it. If you have any questions, leave us a comment, subscribe, like this video, check out our Carnival Horizon room tour. I'll link those up here in the description, and I'll definitely leave links in the video as well. We also have a walkthrough of the Carnival Horizon if you want to check her out and see what she has to offer. And if you want to book this ship, our contact information is in the description below. Send us a form and we'll get right back to you and book you the Carnival Horizon or any other cruise ship or any other vacation you'd like to do. Yanni and I, my wife, would love to build you a great vacation on the Carnival Horizon or any other ship of your choice. Be safe. Keep dreaming of those ocean views. I definitely promise you we will make it a reality. Take care, everybody, and see you on the next one.